The message reached Earth on a quiet Tuesday morning. Ambassador Lyran's voice crackled through the subspace transmission, polite and formal even in desperation. The Valari needed help. Their beautiful world was under attack, and they had no way to fight back. Admiral Tejo stood in the command center listening to the recording for the third time. Around him, officers studied their screens with serious faces. The Valari were asking for negotiators, maybe a small peacekeeping team. They wanted someone to talk to the attackers and make them stop. Tejo looked at the star charts. The Valari system was 3 weeks away at maximum speed. The attackers were called the Kryn Dominion, a species that had been quietly conquering their neighbors for decades. Nobody stopped them because nobody could. The galaxy was full of peaceful species who had forgotten how to fight, but humans remembered. Earth had never forgotten. Dr. Sora entered the command center carrying her datapad. She was the lead scientist for alien cultures, and she looked worried. Tejo knew what she was going to say before she spoke. "Admiral, the Valari don't understand what they're asking for," Sora said softly. "They think we'll send diplomats, maybe a few ships to look impressive. They have no concept of actual warfare. Then they're about to learn," Tejo replied. He turned to his communications officer. "Send the response. Tell Ambassador Lyran we're coming. Full battle fleet." The officer hesitated. "Sir, shouldn't we ask what they want first?" They sent a distress call. "That's all I need to know." Tejo's voice was firm. "Prep the fleet. We leave in 48 hours. 2 days later, 40 warships gathered in Earth's orbit. The flagship was the Indomitable, a massive dreadnought 3 kilometers long. Its hull was scarred from previous battles, and its weapons could crack a moon. Beside it floated destroyers, cruisers, and Captain Minji's assault carrier, the Valkyrie. Inside the Indomitable's briefing room, Tejo addressed his senior officers. Captain Minji stood near the front, her arms crossed. Lieutenant Commander Jiwan displayed tactical data on the main screen. Sergeant Hyun sat with the other ground force commanders, checking his equipment out of habit. "The Kryn have 30 ships blockading the Valari homeworld," Jiwan explained, her fingers dancing across her control pad. "Standard formation. They're not expecting resistance. Intelligence says they've never faced serious opposition in any of their conquests." "Good," Minji said with a cold smile. "First rule of war, surprises everything." Dr. Sora raised her hand. "Admiral, I need to say something. The Valari are gentle people. They've had peace for 500 years. When they see what we're capable of, they might be more frightened of us than the Kryn." Tejo nodded slowly. "I understand your concern, Doctor. But right now the Valari are dying. We can worry about their feelings after we've saved their lives." "Sir," Hyun spoke up from the back. "What are the rules of engagement?" "Protect Valari civilians at all costs. Destroy any Kryn military target that doesn't surrender immediately." Tejo's eyes swept across the room. These people came to someone's home and started killing. We're going to teach them why that's a bad idea. The fleet jumped to hyperspace that afternoon. Inside the ships, humans prepared for war in the way their species had done for thousands of years. They checked weapons, ran drills, studied the enemy, and waited. Dr. Sora spent the journey learning everything she could about the Valari. Their world was like a paradise. Perfect weather, abundant food, no dangerous predators. They had evolved in comfort and plenty. War was something they read about in ancient history, not something they understood. "They're like children," Sora told Jiwan one evening in the mess hall. "Innocent. They can't imagine someone wanting to hurt them." Jiwan stirred her coffee thoughtfully. Earth had 10 mass extinctions before humans even existed. Ice ages, supervolcanoes, asteroid impacts. Our planet tried to kill us before we were born. The Valari never experienced any of that. "That's why we're so different," Sora agreed. "Earth made us hard. It made us survivors. It made us dangerous," Jiwan corrected quietly. 3 weeks passed. Then the fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Valari system. Every sensor immediately came alive with data. The Kryn blockade was exactly where intelligence said it would be. 30 warships in a loose sphere around the planet. On the Kryn flagship, Grand Marshal Vectar received the alert about new arrivals. He studied the unknown ships with mild interest. They were larger than he expected, heavily armed, but only 40 ships against his 30. He had better shields and more experience. "Open a channel," Vectar ordered. "Let's see what these newcomers want." Admiral Tejo's face appeared on the Kryn view screen. Vectar noted the human's hard eyes and scarred face. A warrior, then. But warriors could be intimidated. I am Grand Marshal Vectar of the Kryn Dominion. You are interfering in a military operation. Leave immediately or face destruction. Teho's expression didn't change. I am Admiral Teho of the United Earth Coalition. You are attacking our allies. You have 1 hour to withdraw your forces and leave this system. If you're still here after that, we will remove you. Vectar laughed. The sound echoed through both bridges. You clearly don't understand the situation. We outnumber you. Our shields are superior. Our weapons have conquered 17 systems. I suggest you reconsider. I've reconsidered, Teho said calmly. You now have 59 minutes. He cut the transmission. On the Kryn flagship, Vectar stared at the blank screen in disbelief. No species had ever spoken to him like that. These humans must be insane or ignorant. Either way, they would learn respect soon enough. Battle stations, Vectar commanded. But hold position. Let them make the first move. I want to see what they're capable of before we crush them. On the Indomitable, Teho turned to his crew. All ships, battle formation. Weapons hot. Target locks on every Kryn vessel. He checked the countdown timer. 54 minutes remaining. Captain Minji's voice came through the comm. Ground forces ready for deployment on your order, Admiral. Stand by, Captain. Let's see if they're smart enough to leave. Teho didn't think they would be. In his experience, bullies never back down until you hit them hard enough to change their minds. Dr. Sora watched the Kryn formation on her display. She had studied their history during the journey. They had never faced real resistance. Every species they conquered had either surrendered or put up token resistance before giving up. They literally didn't know what a real war looked like. They were about to learn. On the planet below, Ambassador Lyran watched the sky through a telescope. The Volari could see the ships now, distant points of light in orbit. 2 fleets facing each other. Lyran felt hope for the first time in weeks. The humans had come. Everything would be okay now. But Lyran didn't understand what was about to happen. The Volari had no context for human warfare. They thought the ships would talk, negotiate, maybe fire a few warning shots. They expected a civilized resolution. The minutes ticked down. 50 minutes, 40, 30. The Kryn didn't move. They were calling the humans bluff, confident in their superiority. At 5 minutes remaining, Teho gave a small smile. He had been counting on this. The Kryn's arrogance was their weakness. Lieutenant Commander G1, he said quietly. Are your firing solutions ready? Yes, sir. All targets locked. Coordinated strike ready on your command. Good. Teho leaned back in his chair. They wanted an hour. Let's give them 5 minutes instead. The human fleet began to move forward, weapons charging. The wait was over. War had come to the Volari system and it wore a human face. The human fleet attacked at exactly 5 minutes after the ultimatum expired. 40 ships fired as one, their weapons coordinated with perfect timing. The void lit up with streams of projectiles and energy beams all converging on the Kryn formation. Grand Marshal Vectar barely had time to shout orders before the first impacts hit. His shields flared bright as railgun rounds slammed into them at incredible speeds. These weren't the energy weapons common in the galaxy. These were solid chunks of metal moving at a fraction of light speed. 3 Kryn ships lost their shields in the first 30 seconds. Vectar stared at his displays in shock. That shouldn't be possible. His shields were rated against the strongest weapons known to the galaxy, but they barely slowed down the human projectiles. Return fire, he screamed. All ships engage the enemy. The Kryn weapons opened up, sending energy beams and missiles toward the human ships. But the humans didn't behave like any enemy Vectar had fought before. They didn't maintain defensive positions. They didn't try to protect their flanks. They just kept coming, driving straight toward the Kryn formation while their guns never stopped firing. On the Indomitable, Lieutenant Commander G1 called out targets as fast as her tactical computer could track them. Cruiser taking heavy damage. Their port shields are down. Destroyer attempting to flank us from Grid 7. Send the Fury to intercept, Admiral Teho ordered calmly. Main fleet continues forward. Don't give them time to reorganize. The human destroyer Fury peeled off from the formation and accelerated toward the flanking Kryn ship. The 2 vessels exchanged fire at close range, their weapons tearing into each other's armor. The Kryn destroyer had heavier shields. The human destroyer had thicker armor and more guns. The Kryn ship exploded first. Its reactor went critical, sending debris spinning through space. The Fury emerged from the fireball heavily damaged but still fighting. Its captain reported back with grim satisfaction. Target destroyed. Fury still operational. On the Volari surface, Ambassador Lyran watched through the telescope with growing horror. The battle was nothing like the civilized conflicts described in history books. Ships were dying. Explosions bloomed in the void like flowers of fire. And the humans just kept attacking, relentless and unstoppable. "This is madness," Lyran whispered. "They're going to kill each other." Dr. Sora stood beside the Volari ambassador on the command deck of the Indomitable. She understood Lyran's shock. This is what war looks like when both sides are serious. The Kryn have been fighting species that surrender easily. Humans don't surrender. We win or we die trying. But so many are dying, Lyran said, eyes fixed on the battle displays. Yes, Sora agreed quietly, and every human here knew that might happen when we came. We came anyway. The human cruiser Storm took a direct hit from a Kryn battleship. Its armor buckled and fires erupted along its hull. The captain reported massive casualties. Tejo ordered the Storm to fall back and make emergency repairs. But the Storm's captain had other ideas. Instead of retreating, she pushed her damaged ship forward, aiming directly at the Kryn battleship that had wounded her. Her engines screamed at maximum power. "Storm, what are you doing?" Tejo demanded. The captain's voice came back steady despite the chaos on her bridge. "Taking one with us, sir. Reactor's going to blow anyway. Might as well make it count." Tejo closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them. "Understood. Your sacrifice will be remembered. All ships clear the Storm's attack vector." The Storm crashed into the Kryn battleship at full speed. Both ships vanished in a ball of nuclear fire that lit up the entire system. When the glare faded, there was nothing left but expanding debris. Lyran made a sound of pure distress. Sora put a hand on the alien's shoulder. "That's what we are. When we can't win, we make sure we take the enemy with us. We've been doing it for thousands of years." Grand Marshal Vectar realized with growing terror that he had made a terrible mistake. These humans fought like demons. They accepted casualties that would break any sane military force. They charged into weapons fire that should make them retreat. And their guns, their horrible kinetic weapons, tore through Kryn shields like they weren't even there. "All ships, withdraw," Vectar ordered. "Fall back to the outer system." But withdrawing from humans proved harder than fighting them. The human ships were faster than Kryn vessels, more maneuverable. As the Kryn tried to flee, human fighters launched from Captain Minji's carrier. Small, deadly craft that swarmed the retreating ships like angry insects. Minji directed the fighter wings with cold efficiency. "Alpha Wing, target their engines. Beta Wing, hit their weapons. Don't let them shoot back. Charlie Wing, protect our bombers." The fighters struck with precision. Kryn ships found their engines disabled, their weapons destroyed, their shields stripped away. Then the human capital ships caught up and finished them with concentrated fire. Sergeant Hune watched from the Valkyrie's hangar bay, suited up and ready for ground assault. His Marines stood in ranks behind him, weapons checked and ready. But the order to deploy never came. The space battle was ending before they could join it. "Looks like the Navy is handling it," one of his squad leaders muttered. "This time," Hyun replied. "But we'll get our turn. We always do." The Indomitable finally entered the battle directly. Until now it had hung back, coordinating the fleet. But Admiral Taiho decided it was time to show the Kryn what real power looked like. The massive dreadnought plunged into the center of the Kryn formation. Its armor was so thick that Kryn weapons barely scratched it. Its shields absorbed hits that would have destroyed smaller ships. And its main gun, a spinal-mounted mass driver running the length of the ship, charged up with a building whine. "Main gun ready," Ji-Wan reported. "Fire," Taiho ordered. The gun fired. A tungsten rod the size of a building accelerated to 20% of light speed in less than a second. It hit the nearest Kryn battleship dead center, punched through the front armor, through the entire ship, out the back, and continued on to strike a cruiser behind it. Both Kryn ships died instantly, their crews not even having time to realize what killed them. That broke the Kryn completely. The remaining ships abandoned formation and fled in every direction. Some tried to escape into hyperspace. Others headed for the outer system. A few simply surrendered, powering down their weapons and broadcasting their submission. "Do we accept their surrender?" Ji-Wan asked. Taiho nodded. "Yes, disable their ships but don't destroy them. The ones still running, though, they don't get to report back what they learned here. Make sure none of them reach hyperspace." The human fleet pursued the fleeing Kryn across the system. It took 3 more hours to hunt them all down. By the end, 29 of the original 30 Kryn ships were destroyed, disabled, or captured. Only Vectar's flagship escaped, jumping to hyperspace with its engines on fire and half its crew dead. The price for humans was steep. 4 destroyers destroyed completely, 6 more ships damaged and needing serious repairs. Over 300 crew members dead, another 500 wounded. As the battle ended, Admiral Tejo addressed the fleet over open channels. His voice was tired but firm. "Well done, all ships. You fought with honor and courage. We came here to protect our allies, and we've done that. But we've paid a price. 347 of our people are gone. They gave their lives so that the Volari could be free. We will remember them. We will honor them, and we will make damn sure their sacrifice meant something." On the planet below, Lyran stared at the sky where the battle had taken place. The Volari were safe. The Kryn were defeated. But the cost in lives, the sheer violence of what had just happened, left the ambassador shaking. Dr. Sora found Lyran in the observation room hours later. The Volari was still staring at the displays, watching the human ships collect their dead from the wrecks. "You saved us," Lyran said quietly. "But I never imagined it would be like this." "I know," Sora replied. "Your species has never known war. Not real war. You don't have the context to understand what you just witnessed. How do you live with it, knowing that hundreds died today?" Sora was quiet for a long moment. "We remember them. We make sure they didn't die for nothing, and we keep going because if we stop, if we give up, then all those sacrifices were wasted." She looked at Lyran with sad eyes. "It's not easy. It's never been easy, but it's who we are." Admiral Tejo sent a message down to the planet. He requested that Ambassador Lyran come up to the Indomitable. They needed to talk about what came next. As Lyran's shuttle lifted off toward the human fleet, the Volari looked back at their beautiful world. Everything had changed. The galaxy had changed, and somehow, Lyran had the feeling that this was just the beginning. The humans had come when called. They had brought their battleships, and they had shown the galaxy what Deathworlders could do when pushed to fight. Ambassador Lyran's shuttle docked with the Indomitable 2 days after the battle. The Volari ambassador stepped into the human ship and immediately felt the difference. Everything was metal and purpose. There were no decorations, no art, no comfortable spaces. Just weapons, armor, and efficiency. Dr. Sora met Lyran at the airlock. The human scientist smiled warmly, but even she wore a uniform with body armor underneath. On Velar, nobody wore armor. Nobody needed to. "Welcome aboard," Sora said. "Admiral Tejo is waiting for you in the command center. I should warn you, though. This ship is a warship. It might be uncomfortable for you." Lyran nodded, trying not to stare at the human crew members they passed. All of them moved with purpose, carrying weapons or tools. Many had scars. Some were missing limbs replaced with mechanical parts that seemed to work just as well. The Volari found it disturbing and fascinating at the same time. Admiral Tejo stood in the war room, studying holographic displays of the Volari system. He turned when Lyran entered and gave a slight bow of respect. "Ambassador, thank you for coming. Thank you for saving my people," Lyran replied, "though I must admit the way you did it was shocking." Tejo gestured to a chair. "I understand Dr. Sora explained that your species has no context for warfare. What you saw probably seemed like brutal madness." "It did," Lyran admitted, sitting down carefully. "So many died. Both Kryn and human. Was there no other way?" "The Kryn only understand force," Tejo said bluntly. "We tried talking. They laughed at us. If we had shown weakness, they would have attacked harder. We had to hit them so hard they would never consider coming back." "And now?" Lyran asked. "What happens next? Now we make sure this doesn't happen again." Tejo pulled up a new display showing Velar's surface. "Captain Minji and her ground forces are going to build defensive positions on your planet. Training facilities, weapon depots. We're going to teach your people how to defend themselves." Lyran's eyes widened. "You want to militarize our world? We've been peaceful for 500 years. And that peace made you targets," Tejo said, not unkindly. "The galaxy isn't what you thought it was, Ambassador. There are predators out there. The Kryn aren't the only ones. If you want to stay free, you need to be able to fight back." Dr. Sora intervened gently. "We're not asking you to become warriors, Lyran. But you need to understand that weakness invites attack. You can be peaceful and still be strong. Down on the planet's surface, Captain Minji supervised the construction of a human military base. Her Marines worked alongside human engineers, turning a peaceful meadow into a fortified position in just hours. Concrete barriers rose from the ground. Weapon emplacements took shape. Sensor arrays sprouted like strange metal trees. A young Valari named Kira watched from a safe distance, both horrified and curious. Sergeant Hyun noticed the observer and walked over, his armor making soft mechanical sounds with each step. "First time seeing humans work?" Hyun asked, removing his helmet. His face was scarred, but his smile was friendly. Kira nodded nervously. "You're destroying the meadow." "It was beautiful." "It was," Hyun agreed. "But beauty doesn't stop bullets. This base will protect your city if the Kryn come back. Sometimes you have to sacrifice pretty things to keep people alive." "Will they come back?" Kira asked quietly. "Probably. Bullies always come back unless you hit them hard enough to make them think twice. That's why we're staying for a while, to make sure you're ready if they do." Kira looked at the human sergeant thoughtfully. "Can you teach me? Not to fight, but to understand why you fight?" Hyun smiled. "That's actually the best place to start. Come on, I'll show you around. Maybe you can help us understand your people better too." News of the Battle of Valar spread across the galaxy faster than light. Within days, every species knew that a new power had emerged. The humans. The Deathworlders. The ones who came with battleships when others would have sent diplomats. On the Galactic Assembly Station, Council Member Thresk called an emergency session. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered to discuss what the human intervention meant. The humans destroyed a Kryn fleet, Thresk announced to the Assembly. They attacked Kryn territory without authorization from this council. They acted with extreme violence and showed no interest in diplomatic solutions. A representative from a small species called the Tren stood up. "The Kryn were committing genocide. We asked this council for help 3 times. You did nothing but talk. The humans acted. They saved lives," another voice rose. "But at what cost? Hundreds died in that battle. The humans fight like savages. What's to stop them from conquering us next?" The debate raged for hours. Some species saw humans as heroes. Others saw them as a new threat. Everyone agreed on one thing. The galaxy had changed forever. Back on the Indomitable, Lieutenant Commander Jiwan gave a presentation to Valari officials about Earth's history. She showed them images of Earth, a world of extremes, where ice covered continents for thousands of years, where volcanoes could block out the sun, where extinction events happened regularly. "This is where we come from," Jiwan explained. "Our planet tried to kill us before we even evolved. Then it kept trying. Ice ages, droughts, predators, disease. Everything was a threat." The Valari officials looked stunned. One of them asked, "How did you survive?" "We adapted," Jiwan said simply. "We learned to make weapons. We learned to work together. We learned to never give up no matter how bad things got. That's why we're so good at war. We've been practicing survival for millions of years." She switched to showing human history, 10,000 years of continuous warfare. Empires rising and falling, weapons growing steadily more powerful. The Valari couldn't believe it. Humans had been fighting each other almost constantly for their entire recorded history. "But you also built beautiful things," one Valari noted, pointing at images of human art and architecture. "Yes," Jiwan agreed. "We're not just warriors. We're builders, artists, scientists, dreamers. But we never forgot how to fight. Earth taught us that you need both, the ability to create and the ability to destroy. Otherwise, someone will take everything you've built." Dr. Sora spent her time visiting Valari cities with Ambassador Lyran. She was amazed by their civilization. No walls, no weapons, no security forces. The Valari had built a society based on complete trust and cooperation. "It's beautiful," Sora said honestly as they walked through a city park. "I wish Earth could be like this, can't you be?" Lyran asked. "You've proven you're strong. Why not choose peace?" Sora thought about it carefully. "Because Earth has enemies. Because humans remember what happens when you're not ready to defend yourself. Because peace without strength is just waiting to be conquered." "I'm sorry, Lyran, I know that sounds harsh, but it's true." A week after the battle, Admiral Taiho received troubling news from a scout ship. The Kryn were gathering their forces at their home system. Over 200 ships. They were preparing for revenge. Taiho called his senior staff together. Captain Minji, Lieutenant Commander Jiwan, Sergeant Hyun, and Dr. Sora gathered in the war room. The holographic display showed the Kryn fleet gathering like a storm, They outnumber us 5-1, G1 reported, and our ships are still damaged from the last battle. Reinforcements from Earth are at least 3 weeks away. Can we hold them off? Minji asked. Maybe, Tejo said, if we fight defensively. But defensive battles are long and bloody. More of our people will die. More Valari might die too if the Kryn get through. What's the alternative? Sora asked, though she had a feeling she knew the answer. Tejo pointed at the display. We take the fight to them. Hit them at Kryn Prime before they can launch their attack. Destroy their shipyards, their command structure, their ability to wage war. End this threat permanently. Silence fell over the room. What Tejo was suggesting was incredibly dangerous. They would be attacking the enemy's home system, deep in hostile territory with damaged ships and no reinforcements. That's insane, Sora said quietly. Yes, Tejo agreed. But the best defense is a good offense. If we wait for them to come to us, we fight on their terms. If we hit them first, we control the battle. Minji smiled grimly. It's what they won't expect. Nobody has ever attacked Kryn Prime. They think they're safe at home. They're about to learn different, Hyun added. My Marines are ready. Jiwon ran calculations on her pad. It's dangerous. Really dangerous. We'll lose ships. Maybe a lot of ships. But if we can destroy their military infrastructure, we end the war in one strike. Tejo looked at each of them in turn. I'm not ordering this. I'm asking. Are we willing to take this risk? One by one they nodded. Humans didn't wait for threats to come to them. They met threats head-on no matter the cost. When Ambassador Lyran learned of the plan, the Valari was horrified. You're going to invade their home? Attack their families? That's not defense, that's revenge. It's survival, Tejo replied calmly. If we don't stop them now, they'll come back stronger. This ends it. One way or another, the human fleet began preparing for departure. They were going deep into enemy territory to strike at the heart of the Kryn Dominion. It was the kind of bold, aggressive move that only humans would attempt, and it would change the galaxy forever. The human fleet left Valar 4 days later. A small garrison stayed behind to protect the planet and continue training the Valari. But most of the ships, including the Indomitable, jumped into hyperspace heading deep into Kryn territory. Admiral Tejo stood on the bridge watching the stars streak past. This was the kind of mission that won wars or lost them completely. There was no middle ground. Either they would destroy Kryn Prime's military power, or they would all die trying. Lieutenant Commander Jiwon ran simulations constantly during the journey. The numbers weren't good. Kryn Prime had orbital fortresses, minefields, defense satellites, and at least 50 warships on patrol. The humans were attacking into a prepared defense with damaged ships and tired crews. But humans had one advantage. They were willing to take risks that no sane species would consider. They would turn those defenses into a killing ground, but they would get through. They always did. Captain Minji prepared her ground forces for urban combat. If they made it through the orbital defenses, her Marines would assault the military command center on the surface. Sergeant Hyun drilled his squads endlessly, making sure every soldier knew the plan. The Kryn are bigger than us, Hyun told his troops. Stronger too. Their hide is like natural armor. But we're smarter, we're faster, and we're meaner. You see a Kryn, you don't try to fight fair. You use cover, you use teamwork, and you put 3 rounds center mass before they know what hit them. Dr. Sora moved through the ship talking to crew members. She could see the stress on their faces. They all knew this mission might be one way. But nobody talked about backing out. That wasn't how humans worked. Once committed, they saw it through to the end. On Kryn Prime, Grand Marshal Vectar recovered from his wounds in a military hospital. He had been stripped of his command for losing the Battle of Valar. Now he spent his days trying to warn anyone who would listen about the human threat. They're not like other species. Vectar insisted to the Planetary Defense Council. They don't fight for territory or resources. They fight because someone threatened their allies, and they never stop until the threat is eliminated. The council dismissed his warnings. Kryn Prime had never been successfully attacked in 1,000 years of Dominion history. The defenses were too strong. The distance was too far. No species would be crazy enough to try. They didn't understand humans yet. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kryn Prime system. Alarms immediately blared across the planet as sensors detected the intruders. The Kryn couldn't believe it. The humans had come to their home system. It was unthinkable. Admiral Tejo didn't give them time to think. All ships full speed ahead. Don't slow down, don't stop. We hit them before they can organize. The human fleet accelerated toward the planet at combat speed. The orbital fortresses opened fire first, sending streams of energy weapons and missiles toward the attackers. Human point defense systems worked overtime, shooting down incoming fire while their own guns charged up. The Indomitable's main gun spoke first. The massive tungsten round crossed the distance in seconds and slammed into the largest fortress. The structure exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the void. Debris spun away in all directions. The other human ships opened up with everything they had. Railguns, plasma cannons, missile batteries, all firing at maximum rate. The orbital defenses were strong, but they were designed to fight off cautious attackers. Humans weren't cautious. They charged straight in, accepting damage to close the range. The human cruiser Thunder took a direct hit from a fortress gun. Its shields failed and armor buckled. But it kept coming, its own weapons never stopping. The Thunder crashed into the fortress at full speed, taking both structures out in a massive explosion. Thunder is gone, Jiwan reported, her voice tight. But the southern fortress is destroyed. The path is clear for the assault shuttles. Launch the ground forces, Taiho ordered. Captain Minji, you're cleared for descent. Good luck. From the carrier Valkyrie, hundreds of assault shuttles and drop pods launched toward the planet. The Kryn tried to shoot them down, but there were too many targets. Most made it through the defensive fire and streaked toward the surface. Sergeant Hyun rode in the lead drop pod, his squad strapped in around him. The descent was violent. The pod shook and rattled as it hit atmosphere. Outside, the air glowed red from friction heat. Then came the stomach-dropping sensation of the retro rockets firing. The pod hit the ground with a bone-jarring impact. The doors blew off and Hyun was moving, his rifle up and scanning for targets. His squad followed, spreading out in practiced formation. They had landed 3 blocks from the military command center. Kryn soldiers poured out of nearby buildings, larger and stronger than humans. But the humans had better tactics. Hyun's squad took cover and opened fire with precision. The Kryn tried to charge the human positions. Bad idea. Human rifles fired armor-piercing rounds that cut through Kryn hide like paper. The aliens fell before they could close to melee range where their strength would matter. Captain Minji coordinated the ground assault from her command shuttle. More humans were landing every minute, establishing a perimeter and pushing toward the command center. The Kryn defenders fought hard, but they had never faced an enemy this determined. Dr. Sora had insisted on coming with the ground forces. She moved behind the front lines, using a portable transmitter to broadcast messages to Kryn civilians. This is not your fight. Evacuate combat zones. We are targeting military installations only. Civilians will not be harmed if they stay away. Some Kryn listened. Others ignored the warnings, confident their military would win. They were wrong. The battle for the command center lasted 6 hours. The humans advanced block by block, building by building. The Kryn fought desperately, but human tactics were superior. They used combined arms, infantry, armor, air support, all working together perfectly. Sergeant Hyun breached the command center with his squad. Inside, Kryn officers tried to organize a defense. It didn't work. The humans moved through the building like a machine, clearing rooms with brutal efficiency. Captain Minji found the Planetary Defense Council in a fortified bunker. They refused to surrender at first, sure that reinforcements would arrive. Minji's response was cold. There are no reinforcements. Your fleet is destroyed. Your fortresses are gone. Your military is broken. Surrender now or we will keep fighting until there's nothing left. The council looked at the human captain, seeing the determination in her eyes. They realized she meant every word. Slowly, they powered down their weapons and raised their hands in surrender. In orbit, the space battle wound down. The Kryn fleet was shattered. Most ships were destroyed or disabled. A few managed to escape into hyperspace, but not many. The human fleet held orbit around Kryn Prime, battered but victorious. The cost had been high. 10 human ships destroyed completely. Hundreds of Marines killed in the ground assault. But they had achieved their objective. Kryn Prime's military power was broken. Admiral Taiho broadcast a message across the entire Kryn Dominion. His voice was tired but firm. This is Admiral Taiho of the United Earth Coalition. The Kryn Dominion started this war by attacking our allies. We are ending it now. These are your options. Withdraw all forces from conquered territories. Pay reparations to those you've harmed. Accept human observers to monitor your military. Or we return and finish what we started here. You have 24 hours to decide. The remaining Kryn leadership, shocked and defeated, agreed to all terms within 6 hours. The mighty Dominion, conqueror of 17 systems, had been brought to its knees by a single human fleet. Dr. Sora walked through the captured command center, checking on Kryn prisoners. Many were wounded. All were confused. They couldn't understand how they lost. They had better numbers, better defenses, home field advantage. How did the humans win? Sora knew the answer. Humans won because they refused to lose, because they took risks that seemed insane, because they had been fighting for survival since before they built cities, and that experience was coded into their very nature. Captain Minji found Sergeant Hyun sitting outside the command center, his armor scorched and dented. He was staring at a list of casualties on his datapad. 23 Marines from his company were dead, almost a third of his force. "We won," Minji said quietly, sitting beside him. "Yeah," Hyun replied. "We won. But I keep wondering if there was a better way. A way that didn't cost so many lives." Minji didn't have an answer for that. Maybe there wasn't one. War was ugly and people died. That was the truth of it. All they could do was make sure those deaths meant something. Admiral Tejo stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, looking down at Kryn Prime. The planet was intact. The civilians were safe. But the military threat was eliminated. It was exactly what he had aimed for. Lieutenant Commander Jiwon approached with a new report. "Sir, we're getting messages from across the galaxy. Everyone wants to know what happened here. The Galactic Assembly is demanding answers. Some species are praising us. Others are calling us aggressors." Tejo nodded. "Let them talk. What matters is the Valari are safe. The Kryn are no longer a threat. Mission accomplished." "At what cost?" Jiwon asked quietly. "At the cost it always takes," Tejo replied. "War demands blood, we gave it. Now maybe there can be peace. That's all we can hope for." The human fleet returned to Valar 3 weeks after the assault on Kryn Prime. The ships were battered and scarred, but they came home victorious. Ambassador Lyran watched from the planet's surface as the Indomitable took up orbit again. The Valari didn't know how to react. The humans had saved them, then left to attack the enemy's home. Now they were back. What did it mean? Were they conquerors now? Would they demand payment for their protection? Admiral Tejo requested a meeting with the Valari government. This time he came down to the planet himself, landing with a small escort. Dr. Sora walked beside him as they entered the beautiful Valari council chamber. The Valari leaders looked nervous. They had seen what humans could do. They knew the power these strange aliens wielded, but Tejo surprised them by bowing in the Valari style of respect. "We came when you called for help," Tejo said simply. "We've eliminated the Kryn threat. Your people are safe now. That's all we wanted. What do you want from us?" Lyran asked carefully. "What is the price for your protection?" "Nothing," Tejo replied. "We don't conquer allies. We don't demand tribute. You asked for help and we gave it. That's what friends do." The Valari couldn't believe it. In their limited experience with the galaxy, help always came with strings attached. But the humans seemed sincere. They had fought and bled and asked for nothing in return. "We would like to keep a small garrison here," Tejo continued, "and continue training some of your people in defense. The galaxy is more dangerous than you realized. We want to make sure you can protect yourselves if we're not here next time." Lyran considered this. The idea of Valari learning warfare still felt wrong, but the alternative, remaining helpless, it felt worse. "We will allow it. But please teach us defense, not aggression. We don't want to become like the Kryn." "You won't," Dr. Sora assured them. "The Kryn attacked others for conquest. You'll learn to defend yourselves." There's a difference. News of the Kryn defeat spread across the galaxy even faster than the first battle. The humans hadn't just defended an ally. They had struck at the heart of an empire and brought it down. The galaxy had to reassess everything they thought they knew about warfare and power. The Galactic Assembly convened again. Council member Thresk stood before the gathered species looking troubled. "The humans have demonstrated military power beyond anything in our experience. They attacked a heavily defended system and won. They destroyed an empire that conquered 17 systems. What does this mean for galactic peace?" A representative from the Trend species spoke up. "It means we're finally safe. For years we lived in fear of the Kryn. We asked this assembly for help and got nothing but words. The humans gave us action. They gave us safety." Another voice disagreed. "But they did it through violence. Hundreds died in those battles. Is that the galaxy we want? One where problems are solved through warfare? Ambassador Junho from Earth stood to address the assembly. He was a career diplomat, chosen specifically because he could explain human thinking to alien minds. The galaxy you want is not the galaxy that exists. There are predators among the stars, species that take what they want through force. We didn't create that reality. We just acknowledged it and prepared for it. So humans will be the new predators? Someone asked. No, Junho replied firmly. Humans will be guardians. We protect those who ask for protection. We fight those who prey on the weak. That's all. We have no interest in conquest or empire. Earth has enough problems without trying to rule other worlds. The debate continued for days, but a new reality was forming. Multiple smaller species began reaching out to Earth, asking for defense agreements and military training. They had seen what humans could do and wanted that protection. On Valar, Lieutenant Commander Jiwon continued teaching basic strategy to young Valari, who volunteered to learn. Kira was among her best students, quick to understand tactical concepts despite having no background in military thinking. Why do humans work so well together in battle? Kira asked during one lesson. The Kryn are stronger individually, but you beat them easily. Because we've been pack hunters for millions of years, Jiwon explained. Ancient humans hunted animals much bigger and stronger than themselves. We survived by working together, by coordinating, by using strategy instead of raw strength. That's still how we fight today. Can we learn to do that? Kira asked. You're learning right now, Jiwon said with a smile. It takes time. But yes, you can learn. Any species can learn to defend itself if they're willing to try. On Kryn Prime, Sergeant Hyun led a small contingent of human peacekeepers helping with reconstruction. The Kryn were a proud species, humbled by defeat. Many resented the human presence, but some, like a young Kryn soldier named Drak, were curious about their former enemies. Drak had fought against humans in the battle. He had watched his squad mates fall to human weapons, but he had also watched humans show mercy after victory, helping the wounded and protecting civilians. It confused him. Why did you help us? Drak asked Hyun one day while they cleared rubble together. We were your enemy. You were, Hyun agreed. But the war is over. Your government surrendered. Now you're just people trying to rebuild. We don't kick people when they're down. That's not who we are. But you destroyed our fleet, killed our soldiers. How can you be so calm about it? Hyun set down the piece of rubble he was carrying. Because we understand war. We know that soldiers follow orders. We know that governments make decisions that people on the ground have to live with. You weren't our enemy, Drak. Your leaders who ordered the attack on Valar were our enemy, and they've been dealt with. The Kryn's new government reached out to Admiral Taiho with an unexpected proposal. They wanted a treaty, not just a surrender agreement, but an actual alliance. The Kryn had technology humans lacked. Humans had military expertise the Kryn now recognized they needed. Taiho brought the proposal to the Valari first. The Kryn want to join our alliance. I know they attacked you. I know you have every reason to say no. But I think this could be important. Former enemies becoming friends. What do you think? Ambassador Lyran struggled with the question. The Valari way was forgiveness, but this was asking a lot. Finally, Lyran spoke. If the Kryn are sincere, if they truly want peace, then yes. We should accept. The humans showed us that strength can be used for protection. Maybe we can show the Kryn that peace is worth more than conquest. Back on Earth, the government faced a decision. Multiple species wanted military alliances. Some wanted humans to patrol their space. Others wanted training and weapons. Earth was becoming a major power in galactic politics almost overnight. Admiral Taiho was recalled to Earth for consultations. He stood before the United Earth Coalition Council and gave his recommendation. We should help those who ask for help. But we need rules. We don't become galactic police. We don't intervene in internal disputes. We protect against external aggression only, and we always try diplomacy first. But if diplomacy fails, a council member asked, then we do what we do best, Taiho replied. We bring the battleships, the council agreed. Earth would establish a coalition defense force, offering protection to species that wanted it. But they would do it carefully with clear rules and limitations. Humans had learned from their own history. Empires built on military force always collapsed. Eventually, Captain Minji was promoted to admiral and given command of the new Coalition Defense Force. Her first task was establishing the military academy on a neutral world, where officers from multiple species could learn together. We're not just teaching warfare, Minji explained to her staff. We're teaching cooperation. We're showing different species that they can work together, trust each other, defend each other. That's more important than any weapon or tactic. Dr. Sora became Earth's chief diplomatic officer, working with the Galactic Assembly to integrate human military power with galactic political structures. It was delicate work. Many species still feared human aggression. Others wanted to exploit human strength for their own purposes. But slowly, a new order emerged. The galaxy was learning that peace required both diplomacy and strength. That talking was important, but so was the ability to defend yourself. That humans, for all their capacity for violence, could also be protectors and teachers. 6 months after the Battle of Kryn Prime, Ambassador Lyran stood on Valor and looked up at the stars. Human ships still orbited overhead, but now they were joined by Kryn vessels and ships from other species. The garrison had become a true coalition force. Young Valari like Kira trained alongside Kryn and humans, learning not just how to fight, but why to fight, and more importantly, when not to fight. The galaxy was changing, evolving into something new. Admiral Taiho stood in his quarters aboard the Indomitable, looking at the memorial wall. Every name of every crew member lost in the battles was inscribed there. 347 names. He touched the wall gently. Was it worth it? Dr. Sora asked, entering the room quietly. Taiho was quiet for a long moment. Ask me in 100 years. If the galaxy is more peaceful, if species like the Valari are safe, if former enemies like the Kryn have become friends, then yes, it was worth it. That's all we can hope for. The Indomitable prepared to depart for Earth. Its mission was complete. The Valari were safe. The Kryn were reformed.